It was in the middle of 2017 that I started writing by hand again. 2016 and 2017 were pretty rough years for me, especially emotionally, for a myriad of reasons, and my anxiety was at an all-time high, and that, I know now, had a very negative effect on my writing, especially my writing process. I would sit down to write at the same time that I always do, and I would find myself typing away a few words, a few sentences, and then backspacing. Backspacing over and over and over again. Deleting entire sentences that I had suffered through. Sentences that I had come up with, and some that I liked, some that I didn't, but I would get bogged down in the details. And I would start thinking about stuff that had nothing to do with writing, and then trying not to think about those things. And meanwhile, I would just be backspacing away. As you can imagine, I didn't finish many books during this time. I fell behind, and I really wasn't feeling good about what I was doing. I think I even went on a hiatus from this channel, because I wasn't really feeling good about writing. And so, around the middle of 2017, I decided to take matters into my own hands and get back to writing by hand. Writing by hand had helped me in the past, mostly because it's pretty hard to backspace writing when you don't have a backspace button, and there's a lot more ultimacy, a lot more permanence to the words we put on a page as opposed to just the characters on a computer screen. So far, it's been about 8 months, I think, and I've written 3 novels. Revised 1.5 and published 1. One of those was a little bit on the short side, but either way, there are 3 completed works, way more than I had managed to do probably in the entirety of 2016. And recently, someone asked me if I was still writing by hand. It's been several months since the last time I talked about this, and I think it's an understandable thing to ask. Am I still writing by hand? I mean, it's seen as inconvenient to write by hand, write your first draft by hand, especially considering you're going to spend a lot of time transcribing it from the pages you wrote to the computer screen, because clearly you're going to edit it in your computer no matter what. And in spite of that inconvenience, I'm still writing by hand. I really wanted to wait until the moment I am in right now, honestly, to create this video, mostly because by now I've completed 3 first drafts, all by hand, one of which was a real big novel. We're talking like 350 plus pages. That's a big one. I had fully revised one and published it. That is Masks of Glass, is a small novella. I am quite literally in the middle of the process of repeating the process. I wrote a book, I let it sit for a long while, I picked it up, and I'm transcribing it. And as I am moving the words from the pages I have to the computer screen and making edits as I go, I find myself, feeling that slight sense of dread at my first draft, because my first drafts are always bad, and it really doesn't matter that it's bad, because through the process of revision we make everything better. And how silly we are as writers to think that we know what we're doing during the first draft. There are a lot of things I have to fix in this first draft, but I'm doing them, little by little. It's not my first time doing this dance, and I find that in the middle of all this slight sense of dread of all the things I'm gonna have to fix, which of course I'm keeping notes of, you should keep notes of all the things you have to do, it's the easiest way for you to never forget anything. Even through that dread, I'm finding a golden sensation. Quite literally, like panning for gold, or picking away at the side of a mountain, and there, a nugget of gold. Sentences that Max from the past, the version of me that wrote that book so many months ago, nailed on the spot. Those are rare. A more common gold is not the sentences themselves, but the ideas. I often find myself rewriting dialogue because it didn't turn out, or it wasn't as effective enough, but the idea, the base that I left during the first draft was enough to let it flourish, to become something better. And it's why I really wanted to make this video, because I feel that there's a clear, immediate, visible, tangible downside, you could say, to writing your work by hand. And that is that you have to transcribe it into your computer. And that is seen as a very time-consuming process. And had you asked me 5 years ago, I would have probably told you that it wasn't worth it. And you could say, maybe I'm a little biased because it's what I'm doing right now, but you want to know what I think and how I do things. And while I do admit that it's been a bit of a hard process, a little rough, mostly because I get to see my really, really terrible handwriting and the ideas that didn't quite pan out like I thought they would. But that's first drafts, though. I am really enjoying handwriting, and especially revising my drafts, because the polish that goes from draft 0, which is what I refer to as the first draft, from draft 0 to draft 1 is much greater. It's a greater difference than my old draft 0s that I would type into draft 1. It's hard to explain this without just showing you examples, but like the amount of work that has to go into a revision draft, that's just part of the process, and especially for me, because some writers have to cut a lot, and some writers like me have to add a lot. I always forget to describe what the place looks like, and I always forget to remind the reader of what that character looks like. I'm really guilty of that in the first draft. During the revision, I just gotta make sure to remind everybody of everything. Make sure that thing that has to happen in chapter 3 gets established in chapter 1, and that thing the character said at the beginning rings through all the way to the end. The transition from draft 0 to draft 1, when I'm transcribing, is enormous, because it's not polished. I gotta make this clear. It's not a polished draft, but it's a draft that is way more solid. I think I talked about this recently. It's been a little while since the last time I recorded a video, so I don't remember if I mentioned this. But my mental image of a finished draft, or the revision draft, is straightening out a piece of copper wire. And the first drafts are always just a mess of a copper wire. And as you're revising it, you're straightening it. And it takes a while. And sometimes you look at it and you think it's never going to be straight. It's never going to be a perfectly thin, straight line. But you can get there. And you will get there. And now the question you must be asking: should you attempt to write your work by hand? Is it worth it? Is it worth your time? As I've said forever, what I'm presenting here is my advice. What works for me. What I have workshopped for myself. You are a writer of your own. And I think the key that I want you to take from these videos is not do this to succeed. This is what I did. And you, as a writer of your own, take what you like, toss away what you don't like, modify it, experiment with it, mix and match. You're your own person. And you, within yourself, there's a solution to your problem. If you're struggling with typing, or if you want to try out something new, I really enjoy writing by hand. And I didn't realize until I got that question recently that I had written 3 books by hand. Handwriting worked for me, and it's still working. If someday it doesn't, well, I'll let you know about it, and I'll tell you about the process that led to that. But so far, I'm enjoying handwriting. It has allowed me to get back to being consistent, and it's made revision a little bit more interesting. From nothing to a draft that I can almost be proud about. Not yet, though, but almost. Find your own way, and no matter what, at the end of the day, it's not about words, it's not about pages. It's about being consistent. When you sit down to write, you sit down, your butt on that chair, and you write. Okay, today's question was submitted by a viewer just like you, so if you have a topic, an idea for something you would like me to talk about, let me know in the comments down below. I also want to let you know that this video here, as it stands today, is thanks to my patrons. Patreon.com/mkaren is the place you can go to support me and what I do. For as little as $1 a month, you can get to watch my videos a week before they go live on YouTube, and of course you can get your name on the end screen of these videos. Today I want to give a big thank you and a shout out to A. Howard, Amelia, Angela Moore, Brenda, Harriet Holman, Irina Phoenix, Joe, Luki, Mark Maruska, Patch Eichenson, Rain Misoa, and Soul Muse. Thank you so much for your support, guys. The videos, the channel, they've gotten a little bit of a facelift. Things are looking a little bit more clean. Videos are a little bit more concise, and I have you guys to thank for everything. I'm excited to get back to writing, to get back to making videos, and ultimately, at the end of the day, I am here to show you my journey and to inspire you guys to sit your butt on that chair and get some writing done.